Hey everyone, this video is going to be a little bit different than usual because I will talk about art and mental health, and I will also talk about some of my personal mental health issues. And I completely understand not everyone wants to listen to that. No hard feelings in that case. I will put a link to a video here about some lighter topic. Okay, so that's settled. Like I said, I want to talk about the relationship between art and mental health because art can benefit you a lot when you struggle. But there is also something that no one really talks about, and that is the downsides of art when it comes to your mental health, and that is something that I want to address in this video too. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do art because the good way overshines the bad, but there are some things you just need to be mindful of. I do want to add a disclaimer, and that is I am not a psychiatrist and I'm not a doctor, and I talk from my personal experiences, and my experience can be of course totally different than yours, but that doesn't mean that yours isn't valid or mine isn't valid. It's just we are both different people, and that is totally okay. If this video could only help one person, then I already reached my goal. And while I talk, I'm going to show you a time lapse of one of my drawings, so you don't need to stare at my head the entire time and can just enjoy some art instead. First, I want to tell you some things about myself. Some of you may already know that I'm autistic, but I also have CPTSD and chronic depression. I deliberately say I am autistic and I have CPTSD because for me it feels like autism is part of my being, like it's something that is intertwined with my personality, while CPTSD and chronic depression are things that I picked up along the way. This is how I refer to those things when I talk about myself, but this can of course be different for others. But it's quite a package, and I know I'm not the only one dealing with these kind of things, but it can be very lonely. Like, no matter how many people support you, it always feels like they're cheering you on from the sideline. And sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, their voices can be hard to hear over the chaos that is going on inside of you. And during those times when everything inside my head is too much for me, I need something to grab onto, like a tether that keeps me from spiraling down even further. And that can be art. So art can be beneficial when you struggle with mental health. But in what ways can art actually help you? First of all, art can help you express emotions. It can be really difficult to put into words how you feel, especially when you're autistic. But with art you're not using words, you can skip the explaining part. And this is something I find really difficult to explain as well, because how do you use words to explain how you can still express your emotions when you cannot use your words? So I hope you get my point. And here is something you maybe didn't know about me, but I don't only do that by drawing, but also with self-photography. Both ways can help me capture that emotion in a way. The emotion will still be there, but after drawing it or creating a photo with it, the emotion feels less scattered for me, and because of that it feels like I have a bit more control over it. And drawing helps me to order my mind. Especially after a day with a lot of socializing, my thoughts feel so chaotic and scrambled that I need something to focus on, to quiet my mind a bit. I don't know if other autistic people recognize it, but when you've been talking to many people, you kind of get that buzzing feel in your head, because your thoughts are still processing all those conversations. It can make me incredibly restless, and drawing helps me to calm down. And drawing can also keep me busy in my head, so I don't get lost in negative and potentially dangerous thoughts. At times when I'm spiraling down, I can get really addicted to drawing, because it's the only thing I can hold on to in a moment like that. I can't even watch a movie or read a book when I feel like that, but I can still draw. And it doesn't only distract me from the negative thoughts, but it also distracts me from loneliness. Loneliness can have many shapes and forms, and it's not only when you don't have many people around, but you can also feel very lonely when you don't have people around who understand. And drawing can help me fill those gaps. But overall, art can just be a really good way to release some stress, and it can really help you to calm down and to order your thoughts. And I talk about drawing all the time because that is what I do most, but of course this also goes for painting or sculpting or all the other ways you can experience art. So art can be very beneficial for your mental health, but you never hear anyone talk about the potential downsides of using art as a way to cope. And that is because the downsides should not be reasons to not use art, but how we approach it matters. So what are those downsides? First one is perfectionism and self-criticism. It's known that we artists can be our own worst critics. And when you already struggle with your self-worth, that might not always be the best combination, and bad days can hit harder. I recommend not to compare your work with other artists, but instead compare your work with your work from a while ago. And if you keep thinking that your art is ugly, I have an entire video diving into that topic, and I'll make sure to link it in the description of this video. Another potential downside is the pressure to be productive, where you get the feeling that you have to create to cope with your problems and that there is no other way. Then art can turn into stress instead of support. Art can be really good for you, but it cannot replace a therapist. Art can support you, but it's not a fix. The third one is avoidance, which can happen when you use art to escape emotions without ever processing them. And of course, it's okay to use art to distract yourself, but you still need to work with those emotions at some point. But this is not only with art, it can also happen when you use gaming, substances, or basically anything that keeps you from actually working on anything. And then there is also the frustration of art blocks. Imagine you want to draw to get your emotions out and the paper just stays empty. I really hate that, and it can make me even more angry with myself. When this happens, I try to do a tutorial or redraw something that I already made. Or maybe I just color one of my old sketches. I love going over my older sketches with Indian ink, for example, and just make a mess of it. It can be very soothing, and it is one of my favorite ways to deal with my art blocks. So there are some things to be mindful of when you use art as a way to cope. But these potential downsides should never be a reason to stay away from art, because art can be such a powerful tool. I just want to mention them so that you can recognize it when it happens and reach out to your therapist or a friend or a family member when you feel that way. Art shouldn't be a stress to you. But it's not just art that can help you, and here are some other things that I do that had a positive effect on me, apart from seeing my therapist, of course. But I have more hobbies that were really beneficial to how I feel, and I just want to share that as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I also do photography, and of course photography is still art, it's just in a different way than holding a pencil or making a painting. But when I don't feel like drawing, I found that photography is also a very good way to express myself. And thanks to YouTube, I've discovered that I really love video editing and learning about video editing. I really enjoy making videos about my art, but also about paddleboarding or hiking. I still have a lot to learn, but it's a journey that I love being on. And by creating videos and posting them, I feel less lonely because I connect with so many amazing people from all over the world. And you all really lift me up, and I'm really grateful for that. What also helps me is to travel by myself. I really need to take a break from my life every now and then just to calm my head, but I must make sure to keep myself busy on trips like that, so I can't let my mind wander too far. So I bring my sketchbook and some cameras, and that is a good way to handle that, and I really feel recharged after a couple of days by myself. And recently I discovered surfing. I'm terrible at it, but I love it so much. It can somehow really help me empty my mind. Just me and the sea is what matters. I feel physically very tired after I've been in the sea for a few hours, but my mind feels so much more at peace. And I highly recommend taking a couple of lessons if you ever get a chance. The next one some of you can guess from my other YouTube channel, and that is paddleboarding. I just really love being around nature, and with the sound of the wind and the water, it can be so relaxing. I'll link my paddleboard channel below, which is Funky in the Brain, so you can see more of that, but it's in Dutch. However, there should be a translation button somewhere when you watch the video. And on that same channel, you can also follow along with some hiking, because for me, hiking does the same as paddleboarding. Being around nature is just important. And not just being outside, but it's also the exercise that benefits your mental health. So these are the things other than art that had a positive effect on me, and I would love to hear what things or hobbies have helped you, so maybe we can give each other ideas, so let me know in the comments. So back to art. When we're not doing okay, art can help us. It's not a cure for our problems, but it can be a companion. And that is what I wanted to talk to you about in this video. And it's not a video that I usually make, but I think it is something that we should normalize talking about. And that is why I want to be open to you about this as well. If this video could have helped only one person, then I already reached my goal. If this video could make one person feel less alone in their struggles, then I already reached my goal. And remember that I talk from personal experience and that my advice can never replace a doctor or a psychiatrist. And if you have a totally different experience, that's totally valid too. And if you have something to add or want to talk about your own experience with art and mental health, please let me know in the comments so we can learn from each other. I'll put some links in the description of this video to some other videos of mine in which I talk about when you struggle with bad art or when you struggle with your art journey in general, and maybe those can help you as well. So I thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and hype this video if you enjoyed it. And I just want to say I really appreciate that you're here, and I hope I see you with the next one, which will probably be a lighter video.